I thought we would start, Chris, just by going into, what makes Seekers of the Eternal, the NFT project specifically, different from other projects. Me being biased as a founder and partner, I think obviously I would say it's you. Chris Parks is so unique. There's nobody like him on the planet. But then someone could say, well, there's no one like anyone on the planet. Every one of us is unique, which is also true. But
Mhm.
you're exceptional. I feel it's like, when I think about Michael Jordan in the NBA, they're like the elite of the elite just to get there. They're the 1% of 1% just to get to the NBA. And then for that person to stand out amongst the most elite is impressive. And that's how I see you, as an artist, and what you do, and what you say, and the meaning behind it. Like you seem to me to be like a Michael Jordan, like a one of a kind. And so that's what I think makes this project so different. But I wanted to ask you, as the artist, who's obviously not going to say that because I know you're humble, but what makes Seekers of Eternal, the NFT project, so different from maybe other NFT projects?
Yeah, man, thank you. That means a lot to me. It's nice to, putting all this time and energy into things over the years, and when it resonates with others, and it means a lot to me. So thank you for that. I think what is very unique about what we're doing together with this project, the more that I warmed up to cryptocurrency and to NFTs, and really asking myself these questions of, is this something that I should be involved in? Is this something that makes sense for my career as someone who very much is interested in my spiritual path, and in creating sacred art as a form of bhakti yoga, as a devotion, and just aiming at, having the audacity to, want to be happy all the time is really what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do that with my artwork and with everything that I put my time into. I'm not looking to like do things to make money, or, to make money,
Right.
and so everything that I do has to really be, what's known as like my dharma, the thing that I'm meant to be doing, the thing that's right to do. And so, like, as I was warming up, for so many years, so many friends telling me about cryptocurrency, and like all of the, how much fun they're having with it, and how interested in it, exciting it is, and all that. And for so many years, like, I was just like, I'm not interested. Don't just don't talk to me about it anymore. I don't want to know. Like, it's cool. I get it. I know it's cool. I'm happy that you guys get, I get it. I like it. It's cool, but just not for me. I'm busy,
Yeah.
And so, just a long period of that was happening. And just, one day, I was hearing kind of the same things about Bitcoin and crypto and things. And just one day it just started becoming interesting to me, like I was like, that's unusual, and that's how things usually work with me. Like, I'll have this little spark of like curiosity, like,
Right.
it'll just, so I follow that, and so, sort of level by level, like, baby steps into it. I got a little bit of interest in it, put a little bit of money into, just investing and having some Bitcoin and getting my feet wet with it, and really just opening that door in my mind to like,
And
okay.
how long ago, Chris, would you say that you started to dabble in it like that, where you start to invest your own money?
Yeah, that was in, during the lockdowns, 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was, not too long ago. And then started hearing about NFTs, quickly after that. And then, my immediate reaction to it was like, it's like, fuck that. I don't know. Like, it's like, people selling JPEGs, and, but, I don't go with my initial reaction. The initial reaction is only because I have like a habitual pattern of thinking a certain way, of having certain ideas. So when that comes up, I try to do my best to keep an open mind, even though I'm having this like inner, conflict.
Yes.
And then hearing all the, the negatives that people talk about, and the controversial stuff that comes up about it and things like that, it was just like, oh, but that really, it just kept being interesting to me for whatever
So what
reason.
was it initially that was like, that made you say like, fuck that, I just don't want to touch it? Was it like, what was it specifically of like the fear, uncertainty, and doubt around NFTs that made you as an artist think, I don't want to go down that route, if that's true?
Yeah, it seemed like a sort of a money grab, like a
Okay.
just commodity, like making art all about money, and
Mhm.
and the sort of culture around it initially, like, felt kind of gross at first, like the um it just seemed like a realm that was so far outside. It seemed more like investing, and sort of the dark side of making art, just
Right.
people who just want to buy art and flip it and turning it into like buying houses or something like
Yeah.
that.
And to be
Um,
fair, that's probably true in very many of the cases. We've seen that, in the last year transpire many times, unfortunately. So I think that was a fair concern. Absolutely.
mhm. Yeah, so I mean, that was just my sort of initial reaction to it. But then I would see friends of mine post about the NFT projects that they're working on, and it was warming me up, and people were sort of educating me on what it was, and I was doing research on it, and the more and more like I started warming up to it. Um, then it was the same thing like with when I first bought a little bit of Bitcoin. It was like, okay, I'm interested in this,
Right.
okay, I'm gonna like just open that possibility in my mind, and then when I did that, immediately people, I got a DM from a group that was looking to do a generative NFT project with me, and started talking with them, and then that was a period of education, like
Right.
really just diving into it, like, okay, what is a generative NFT, and what does this kind of stuff look like, and just more and more getting my feet wet with it, and just like, okay, this could be a possibility. Oh, I could see some really interesting things that I could do here. And then that initial company kind of got scared when the whole crash happened.
Of course. Yeah.
So they kind of like, all right, well, we're not really doing any new projects right now. But that initial thing where I was like, okay, I'm open to this idea, and I got a good education on this landscape of NFTs, and what could happen with it. But I still didn't know like why I wanted to do it. Like, why am
Mm.
I having this like really kind of interest in it? It's not for money, because I don't do things just for money. I want to spend my time doing things that I really love and that I care about. I don't follow money to do
Right.
that. That wasn't the motivation, although I as an artist too, like in the last I recorded one podcast on my own that I started, which was when I dropped my agent that I loved, and I dropped all my clients that I actually did love as well. I was
Mm.
doing projects that I liked and I cared about.
Yeah.
um, but I got to a point in my career, my meditation practice just became so important to me, and my spiritual connection, that I just wanted to like stop working on advertising illustration. And that was very powerful for me. And I took that leap of faith to do that. So I did need to have a project that earned some money.
Yes, of course. Of
It's
course.
not like I just don't, I don't need to earn money. It was just like, okay, well, I feel really strong about going in this direction. I want to make sacred art full time, and I want to, I want to share meditations. I want to do podcasts like this. I want to, be able to share what I'm learning, because I'm learning to, I mean, like I was telling the meditation group last night, like every single day I feel bliss and joy, bliss and peace and calmness. It's not all day, but for moments during the day in my meditation practice, I honestly feel, God contact, which is the feeling
Right.
of bliss,
It's amazing.
And so that became the most important thing to me, is that, and then to make images that could help other people realize that this is possible. Like, it is really possible to go after lasting happiness, really is
Yeah.
the thing, with being able to see how this could be the thing that I was looking for, more so than the way that I was seeing others using it, you
Right.
know And I wanted also to do something that would be an example of the things that I could see as possible. So, before, before you guys got in touch with me, I had, years ago, I got to work on a project with Derek, one of the other members of our team, who's a wonderful author and wrote an incredible book that really outlines a lot of the ethos of this new era that we're moving into with. And it really talks a lot about that your time and the things that you're passionate about should be what you're spending your time doing. And I really liked his writing, and I got to create a series of illustrations for that book and a deck of cards. And it was a great project for me. And his book, and the notes that he was sending me to guide the artwork, I think we're also kind of primer for me in becoming interested in cryptocurrency as well. So, fast forward after, I was talking to that other group about it, and they sort of pulled out, when they got scared about the current climate of NFTs. I started, Derek, who I actually never had talked to in person before, talking to you guys in this group. I was just working with a marketing agency. But he kept coming into my mind as somebody that, like I would probably work with to create my NFT project. So that was just sort of like, oh, that's kind of interesting, So his book came out on Audible, so I was listening to that, diving into that a little bit. And it wasn't long after that he had emailed me and said that you guys were starting this company. So I was very keen to hear what you had to say.
Yeah,
So
we were over the moon excited to know that you would allow us to support you in this endeavor. I think first we just wanted you to work with us on our project, but then we're like, when you had proposed, the storyline of Hanuman, we were just like, well, this is phenomenal. We should be putting our heart and soul into this, especially if Chris is behind it. So yeah, sorry. So that was just on our end, just really quickly. That's how we were thinking. Really, yes.
Yeah. Right. Cool. Yeah. So it was really nice too, because I've been doing this practice in my meditation and teaching it to our group. This is based on the teachings of Yogananda and Swami Kriyananda about really being able to invite inspiration and intuition into your life and to tell the difference between higher and lower inspiration. So, so when you guys, we first had a first conversation, we were talking about the project going in one way, and then being very interested in working with you guys. I kind of brought it into my meditation, weighing the things that we talked about, and then we'd have another conversation like, here's what I'm thinking about now, and it resonated with the group, and we just kept working in that way where I didn't really have an idea where it was going, but day by day, every day I would get some new inspiration, share it with the group, and it seemed like it was really resonating and jiving with all of us. So that's really the way it started. So I was like, okay, this is going to be fun. I'm really interested in working with this team. So that's, kind of how we started. And I think that's really the best way. If there's any other, companies out there that are looking to work with artists, figure out what it is that they're really trying to do or dreaming about wanting to do with their work. And I think having an NFT project allows for a community, and that's really the biggest thing that's drawing me to this. Is I mean, I've been on Discord for a while now, but I never used it because I would just look at it and it would be like, well, I've been out of the video game world for a long time. I've not been on chat groups or things. So it just looked like foreign and difficult and hard to manage. But then, once Brendan showed me the ropes of how it works, I'm like, this is very simple. It's just like a chat room and you can just go in here and talk to people.
Yes. Yes.
So I was like, oh, okay, this is really cool. So as I was trying to get my understanding of why that I'm doing this, listening to other, podcasts and things like that, just trying to get used to it. And the inspiration really started just pouring in about how this is the right thing for me to be doing at the time. This is a way for artists to be able to like do exactly what you want to be doing. And if you're putting that energy into it and you're making something valuable that, you know, others appreciate, and it has like good magnetism and energy, like it will work, you know? So it's just interesting how this sort of cryptocurrency works and how NFT communities work. If you're putting good, you know, vibrant energy into something, and you know, you care about it and you're passionate about it, and you're doing that, then other people will join in and be and feel that magnetism and that energy. And I think that's what we're doing now. And so, yeah, we can kind of like talk about the artwork side of it as well. But that's really the basis, I think, of
Yeah.
what makes what we're doing special that way.
Yeah, you said something that was really important. It was one of the things that I forgot his last name, but I know his first name is Guy, and he's kind of the spokesperson for I think Larva Labs, which is like Bored Ape Yacht Club, CryptoPunks, I think Doodles, and or maybe I may be wrong on the last NFT, but it's all of the most popular NFT projects. And Gary Vee invited him to come to VCon, and he was a speaker. And he said, and someone asked him, kind of, if you were going to work with an artist, like, what's the best approach, and what's the best approach for an NFT project? And he said exactly what you just said. He said, if you're going to be working with an artist, it's extremely important to start with their vision. What is it that they're trying to do? What are they trying to say? What is it that they're trying to achieve? And because otherwise, you're going to get them, you're going to put them into a smaller and smaller box if it's your idea and not theirs. And not to say that there's anything wrong with, commissioning an artist to bring your idea across, and many people do that. But if you really want to create a project where, it's unique to this artist and their vision, then give them the free reign and then support them into that end. And I feel like that's what makes our project so unique. It's, regardless, it's been such a harmonious process. So even though, you presented a story and you have this vision and we're following your lead, it's never really felt like, our vote was any less. Everybody, it seems, comes to the table and everyone's opinion counts, and it's all equal weighted. I think because we all embrace the fact that, we are trying to support you and your work and getting it out there. And when you have that as a general ethos, and you have that as almost like an operating principle, it just makes this so much easier. Because we've had conversations, just to be transparent, where we felt we should go down a specific way, or with text, or with the way that we deliver the program and or the project. And you went home and you meditated on it, you came back and you said, guys, like, here's the new inspiration, or here's some more thoughts. And to the point where I think there was even once where it was like in the 11th hour when we were going to make some announcements on Twitter, and the information came in. There wasn't any hesitation on any of our parts. I think we were just like, this makes good sense. This is coming directly from our artists. We want to support that, and we got it out there. And I think that's what makes this project so unique. This is genuinely a project that we're doing out of love and respect for your artistry and what you're trying to say to the world. And just lastly, I love the fact that you looked at this with such initially looked at it with not necessarily pessimism, but maybe that's not the right word choice, but you definitely were looking at it like with fear, uncertainty, and doubt when it first came out, as you said. But
yeah, depression,
Yeah, but you saw this as an opportunity to create the world you want to create within this space. And I think, to me, that's a great metaphor for life. You could look at anything and see it and just become really down on it and say, oh, I'm not gonna, it's terrible. But it's like that old saying, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I feel like this has been a perfect example of that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, agreed.
So if you don't mind, Chris, I have a few more questions about, Seekers of the Eternal, and what specifically, I guess, the artwork itself. So is it cool if we just jump into some specific questions about the artwork?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So, I guess Seekers of the Eternal has a very I guess there's the tradition of Hinduism, because all of the stories and the traditions I think that comes through Hanuman come through Hinduism. But so first, I just want to make sure that we address this: is Secrets of the Eternal welcoming of all religions and backgrounds, and if so, why?
Yeah, 100%. You know, the path that I follow, you know, it's universal. You know, it is scientific way of awakening, and all the religions, you know, have, you know, 50-50 of good and bad. You know, it's like it depends on the way that people are approaching religions, you know. But really the essence of all true religions is to realize the happiness that exists within you, and to overcome fear, and to realize your connection with the divine, and to live life as what Yogananda would say: life with God is a nest of fun, and without God, life is everything but fun. It is disaster. It is a nightmare. And the path, you know, the forms of God differ, you know, different images of God. There are different saints and different religions that have all, you know, found the same truth. All of these great saints that have come and shown us the way of different traditions, different paths, they're all hanging out in the same freedom together, the same truth that they've discovered. So yes, there's and true, and also these stories, the stories of Hanuman, the story of, you know, this epic, the Ramayana, that we'll talk about. So with the story of Hanuman, as Krishnadas has said in his book, Flow of Grace, which I'm really loving right now, he says that he's like, one thing that I want to make clear is that the story of Hanuman, I don't see it as specific to Hinduism, or that it has no relevance to people outside of Hinduism. You know, these stories are full of life lessons. This is a story that comes from one of the most ancient, or the most ancient culture on planet Earth, that has passed like unbroken from master to disciple, this unbroken story, this unbroken lineage, and carried these things through time, so that people in our age now can tune into these stories and learn how to live properly, and learn how to like fully live life in this era. You know, it contains wisdom that is appropriate for every age and for everyone, you know. So that's what's so cool about these stories, these ancient myths. They actually, you know, versions of them show up in different cultures around the world with different characters, or, you know, different sort of cultural aspects and qualities, but really they're all saying the same thing. This
Right.
story of Hanuman, and the story of Ram and Sita, this is like the blueprint for the hero's journey. It's in, you know, even I read that even George Lucas, he cites Ramayana as his inspiration to start writing the Star Wars
Wow.
saga. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah. So it's the commonality. It's the commonality that unites us all, and it doesn't matter. You know, that's just the beauty of the fact that this has been told for, you know, millennia, and you know, the universal principles hold true for all walks of life, no matter, you know, race or color or creed or religion. You know, there's a very human experience that we can all relate to, and so we call all humans.
hmm yeah, and like we learn through stories, you know, and
Yes.
God is formless, really. Like God is actually a feeling of love that has no form. And it is just this omnipresent oneness, ever existing, ever conscious, ever new bliss. That's the Indian way of describing God. Um, and you know, for me to back up too, like when I first was introduced to Hanuman, you know, maybe I don't know, now maybe it's 18 years or so ago, my first time I went to Thailand.
Mm,
When I was in Thailand the first time, like I consider myself an atheist. You know, I
right.
grew up with my parents' religion, And as a child, like I really, like it was a good experience. Like the people that I was around was positive. Um, it gave me things to do with, other people that were, not getting into trouble and things like that when I was younger.
Yeah.
But then, as I got older and started reading my own books and, you know, um, becoming really disillusioned with the way, Christians were acting and behaving and a lot of the violence and wars that were, a result of dogmatic religious people getting things confused. And I just really wanted nothing to do with it. So I went through a pretty long phase through college of just really being anti-religious, like really kind of upset about that I was ever involved in it.
Sure.
And yeah, and it really wasn't until it was, I think it was around 2002, after graduating from college, like I got to go on a trip with a good friend of mine and my wife and another two friends and my wife. We went to Thailand and visited the temples in Bangkok, and I saw the murals of Hanuman and the paintings in the temples and museums and just amazing, ornate, like those temples, like the details, I just like, it was a religious experience for me. I don't know how to say,
As an atheist, yeah.
Yeah. So it was just like, wow, like I love the aesthetic of this so much, but at that time I didn't really want to know the deeper meanings behind it, because to me it was still religion, so I was like, all right, I kind of put it on the back burner of my mind. But again, I was like, I'm so drawn to Thailand. We went back again, a couple of years later, and just so in love with the aesthetic, the sacred art. It was like the sacred art that really drew me into it and eventually it made me want to know more. So I bought some books while I was there of how to draw like the traditional Thai pattern designs, and started playing with those and incorporating some of it into my work. And that was my introduction to sacred art. And also my first, when I, out of college, I was working at a product design studio for about 4 years. And then when, after that, I opened up a shop with a friend of mine who's a tattoo artist. And tattoo art, because the best tattoo art, in my opinion, is comes from Asia. Like Japanese traditional like tattoos, I think are just so beautiful. And Thai tattoos that they do, the Sakyan tattoos there. That really opened me up to looking at a lot of artwork from around the world and introducing me to sacred art and becoming interested in the sacred art of India. And so it was really, and I was learning how to draw around tattoo artists. So, and whenever I was in Asia or in New York, I'd go to a bookstore called Kinokuniya, and they would just have like all of these amazing like sacred art books and things. So I started a collection of that. But it was really
now, at this point, are you still an atheist? Are you still you're just an artist, like and the art is appealing, or are you starting to feel like there's something deeper here, and the traditions associated with the art as you're starting your research are starting to have an impact on you?
It was purely aesthetic interest.
Okay.
Yeah, purely aesthetic. Like I hadn't read any of the scriptures. I didn't know any of the stories, but I just so much loved the artwork that I kept, like, I was just drawing them, and, like I just loved how they looked. And so, it wasn't really probably till, I don't know, it was a many, many years, at least, a decade before I finally wanted to start reading the Ramayana. Which is the story that is the epic tale, the scripture that the Hanuman story is in. And I can a lot of people that know me know my story. Came through. I broke all my rules on my first big psilocybin mushroom trip, and the way that I approached psychedelics was it was in a manner of really of seeking, of wanting to
Mm.
learn and to grow, so doing it in that way actually is what broke my rules of atheism.
Wow.
Mm.
So having that experience made you aware that, there's more to this than meets the eye.
Hmm. Yeah, and sort of the precursor to the wanting to explore psychedelics. I've told this story before too, but like with I grew up with a hip dysplasia, so I was born with a congenital hip dysplasia, where I had a
Mhm.
disease where the ball for my hip wasn't formed correctly, and so I had all these I had a few surgeries growing up, and uh, I was always having a lot of trouble with my hip until I, could get a hip replacement. And I got my hip replaced in 2013. Um, but before that, when I was younger, when I was having these surgeries and I was on, painkillers and things, and I was at home doing like math tutoring sessions on, painkillers after surgery. I had, complete out of body experiences, this sort of like
Wow.
floating around on the ceiling, like watching myself get this math lesson and learning nothing, but learning like really that I'm not the body. I know that. So these little things kept sort of like making me very curious about the nature of
Mm.
reality. Uh, Having lucid dream experiences. So, those kind of like primed me, I think. So when I first, learned about podcasts, I listened to the Joe Rogan Experience episode 1, and then I was just like hooked on. He was talking about so many interesting things about
Yeah.
ancient civilizations, and about scientists doing amazing research on quantum physics, and all of this stuff from UFOs and psychedelic. And then one episode he mentioned, you started talking about psychedelics and about DMT, and it was just like
Mm.
lights were just going off in my mind. I was like, okay, all right, yeah, that's for me. Like that's
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, I feel
uh,
like Joe Rogan's probably responsible for half the psychedelic community by now, because I know he still continues to talk about, the benefits of it. And even, I would even say even myself, like I think it was the first time I really gave it any, I mean, I think all drugs, but psychedelics included, there was always a negative connotation attached to it. And I
mhm,
think, since listening to podcasts and the free access to information and hearing people's experiences, you start to realize like maybe there's more to this that meets the eye. And this isn't just black and white. And if I don't understand the shades of gray, I'm going to live a really sad life. So
mhm.
but yeah, but Joe Rogan, I feel like, has been the seed for a lot of that kind of thinking.
Yeah, it just like set off these just bells in my mind of
Yeah.
like, okay, where can I get this? How could I start working with it? Disclaimer: I haven't listened to Joe Rogan in many years, so I can't vouch for what he's talking about
Sure,
now.
of
But
course. And
back
likewise.
then, it was he introduced me to so many authors and people that that I really fell in love with and taught me a lot. Um, but yeah, like having somebody talk about what everybody else talked about as being bad, drugs, this like thing that will warp your mind and it's so
Mm,
dangerous, but hearing somebody talk about it for like self, to really become the best version of yourself
yeah.
and to use it as a teacher, and to open these worlds in your mind, like the way that it really, I would talk about what they were doing for me. It's like you're going into these areas in your mind where there's not been anybody in there to clean it up, and so forever, you're just your subconscious mind. There's not been a sheriff in town with a flashlight and a baton like going through and like kicking out the
Yeah.
the people who are causing trouble. My mind just was like, there was so much. I realized there was so much work to do that I made it a very, consistent practice where once a month I would do like these heroic doses of mushrooms, and it'd go in there and just, start cleaning up the place, and get all of these and it was teaching me in exactly the way that was so perfect for me. And I think that's what happens with psychedelics. It's your higher
Right.
self talking to you in exactly the way that makes sense to you, and realizing that all along I've always had this inner guru, this self that's teaching me through my life situations. It's just in psychedelics, it's so obvious and clear that there's somebody like, directing this experience, and you're just sort of like, along for the ride and learning, and like, wow, like, what is that?
Yeah. So that okay, so I just want to make sure that we're still connected to the question. So Seekers of the Eternal, we are respectful of the traditions of Hanuman, and but this is very much for everybody. So I just wanted to make sure that that was a very clear answer, that this project and your artwork and the ethos of Seekers of Eternal we're trying to bring people together, and it's the reassurance that we are more alike than unalike. And okay, and then just to go a little bit deeper into the psychedelic experience, because we talked about the fact that you were an atheist, you had some psychedelic experiences that opened your mind to the possibility that there's a lot more than what you were feeling with your senses. So what was it about that specific experience, though, Chris? Like, what was it that made you think like, we are all part of something bigger? Was it like actually seeing the face of God? Did you hear the voice? What was that experience? Can you just talk about that experience?
Yeah, with these experiences, it becomes a experiential realization. You feel the oneness of the universe. You feel that connection. Like, you hear people talk about it, but then once you actually, experience this God contact or oneness with everything, it just changes everything. It's like, okay, all of the rules, the little silly rules that I have of like my belief system and what I am and what I'm not, they all sort of go out the window.
Wow.
It taught me how to meditate. I remember like coming out of, an experience and going like, like I always wanted to know how to meditate, and now I know how to do it. Like I know what I'm aiming at. Like I know it's like a bridge to show you the future of what's possible. And for me, that's what it was. It was like, okay, here, and I would see future versions of myself. Sometimes I would spend time looking in the mirror, so many years ago, and I would see myself change into like this new person, and I would feel what it would be like to be that new person. It's kind of like where I'm at currently right now as we start this project. I was seeing glimpses of where, what the possibilities were, and then it would be up to me. And the biggest, the biggest experience that I had was one night was so difficult. It was a 5-gram psilocybin trip with a friend, and what would happen a lot of times for me is that it would put me into like a conundrum, almost like, say like a captain's dilemma, where there's two bad choices, or you're going through this mental journey and you're just like, okay, you're shown this like two roads that you could go down. And it's sometimes, like even in life, like you can realize like you don't know what to do. Sometimes the wrong thing seems right, or the right thing seems wrong. Or if you think about people that are causing like a lot of trouble and disharmony in the world, they think they're doing the right thing. Like they think they're following some, a divine order or something like that, and they're sticking to it no matter what, because they're just locked into, this is right, I feel it. And you can really serve a war god, like Graham Hancock has some wonderful books called War God, where it shows you that the different sides that are warring are all just following war gods. They're not actually following the god, and I had that experience in this psychedelic trip, where it was like, I would follow what I thought was right, which was, okay, we're living in a really, kind of fucked up world, and we should be doing something about it. Shouldn't we be doing something about it? Shouldn't we like try to fix the things that are wrong? And then that would be the dilemma that comes up in my mind. And all of a sudden I am sort of like I have all the power, because in this psychedelic state of mind I was in, I was completely all powerful, like God. And then when I had that thought, like, oh, like if I'm God, like let me go in and fix everything. So I started going, like starting to, like, in good ways, like make changes to the universe and do things that I thought were beneficial and helpful to everyone. And then as that happens, this all powerful version of me, like I started fixing everything, fixing everything, fixing everything. And then all of a sudden, like I'm the dictator. I'm the one saying, this is the way it has to be. And there's all of these, like, you know, there's ideals that, you know, you stop thinking about, like having a heart and caring about people. You're just sticking to, I'm making the world perfect. I'm making the world perfect. And I was having these like God complex experiences where I just kept trying to fix the world. And I would just go over and over and over, like trying to be the good guy, ending up being the worst possible thing imaginable.
Wow.
And it was just playing it out. So like really, like at that point, like I was into conspiracy theories. I was into like looking for the villains in the world. I really wanted to know like who was like causing all of this like disharmony. And like, you know, the more that you dig around and look into things, you really find a lot of villains if you're looking for them, you know. And that was where I was at during that trip many years ago. And every time I tried to play out like my ideal situation, it showed me like I became the worst possible tyrant, you know.
Wow.
And it was so hard, you know. I was like, you know, it's like just balled up in a corner, like crying, like I couldn't get out of it, until I finally realized like that we're not here to fix the world. We're here to work on our own hearts. We're here to find happiness within us, and we're not meant to like go around fixing the world. We come here to learn and to grow. The world's perfect. It's a perfect system of cause and effect. Everything that we're doing now, we're going to be in a place in the near future where we're playing out, you know, we're sort of like laying the groundwork for our future lives.
Right.
And so everybody that's doing anything that's not in harmony with nature is going to pay the price. It's not like we're here to like be the police of the world. And so with that realization over, you know, all these, it didn't happen all at once, but really that planted this seed and grew and grew. And it helped me to realize that we're here to work on ourselves. We're here, you know, you hear that cliche term that, you know, change yourself, change the world, but that's really true. It's really true. When we start to really make our main focus of like ourselves becoming happy beyond physical pleasures, realizing the real happiness that exists within us, we'll be led to our dharma, our, you know, our thing that we should be doing in the world. And it won't seem like a grim duty, like, oh, I got to go out there and fix the world and I got to like condemn everybody else. It's not like that. You realize what your soul wants to be doing, and it'll be very interesting and very fun and very creative, and you know, and you'll know when you're following your dharma. So yeah, that's I don't know.
That's so cool. It's great. It's beautiful, Chris, and it makes me. I know you're not. You know, I know you're not a spokesperson for the psychedelic experience and for everyone to jump into it. I know that everyone has. You know, you encourage everyone to do their own homework and research and make sure that they do what's right for them. But it makes me want to experience it. My sister is. You know, she's not. I wouldn't say she's as well versed as you are, but she's certainly. Does have a practice, and she has had the opportunity to fix certain parts of her mental well-being. She had some very traumatic experiences as a child, and that impacted her, you know, obviously in every single way. And she said that she was not able to really, she wasn't even aware of how she was impacted by it. She wasn't completely conscious of it all until she started to have this opportunity to do psychedelics. And she said that within that experience, she was able to go back and fix some of the ways that she was feeling, and almost face it and confront it. And she was able to make peace with people who she loved, who had passed away, that she felt maybe she didn't get a chance to say how she felt. or how they made her feel. She was able to reconnect with spirits that she felt like she always wanted to connect with and then never got a chance to in that life. And so I just, and those kinds of things would be, so beneficial, I think, to anyone. And so that's something that I'm very interested in. I'm a couple of weeks away from having maybe my first experience. My sister's going to set up the opportunity for me to do it. So it's with a guide, and I get a chance to have this experience. But yeah,
Awesome.
I'm very
Yeah.
intrigued by it. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's the way to do it. You feel called to it, and then you do it in the right way. You make sure that you've got people who know what they're doing and that care about you, and I only just want you to have this tool, this bridge to your own inner world, that have no other agenda, and people that you trust. So it's such a powerful experience, that you just want to make sure that you're safe and you're taken care of, and that you can go as deep into your own spiritual realm as possible, and don't be like worried about so many people, I think, that have bad experiences because they're mixing it with the physical reality. So they're doing it at a party, they're doing it around other people. There's all this stuff like going on that can create a lot of problems. But if it's just you and the medicine in a safe environment, let it be as wild and I would say terrible as it can get. Like, let it get as terrible, and that's okay. Like, a lot of my really difficult, terrible like experiences, I don't see them as terrible. They were like, wow, that was like the best one. That was so,
Wow.
just let it go wherever, because it's a way to work out your karma. This is the way that I see it. We all have our karma. We've all, just like, with your wife, she has, and myself, like, we all have this stuff built up inside of us, from past experiences, maybe past lives. Our souls are a collection of all the things that have happened to us. And if we're never getting a chance to go in there and make peace with these things, then they're just going to show themselves in our lives. So yeah, man, like, if that's the way that you're doing it, it's so beautiful. You can do, I don't know how many years, say 20 years of therapeutic work in one night. So,
Wow. I'm
know.
excited. I'll probably call you before I go in, and definitely call you after I come out.
Yeah,
But
cool.
I'm excited about it. So I wanted to dig in a little bit to we chose Hanuman and, the incredible story that comes with it. But what are some of the important lessons that, we can take from Hanuman and from the Ramayana
Mhm.
or Ramayana?
Yeah, you can say it's like Ramayana, Ramayana, um, the song, the story of Ram. Yeah, it's like, I have to sort of like pause when even just thinking about this scripture, because it's so enormous and beautiful and powerful and personal and ancient and
Yeah.
part of all of us.
And it would be cool, like, obviously we're gonna capture some of these lessons, obviously
Mhm.
right now. But once we
Yeah,
do that, perhaps what I'll do is I'll spend some time after this, and I'll write them down, and I'll capture it in a way where I can share it with the community in Discord. So here are
cool.
some of the lessons, that we've extracted. But obviously everyone will extract some of their own unique lessons as well. But I think I'd love to
Mhm.
capture it for the community.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so there's so many to share, and so it's interesting to think about like where to begin.
Mm,
With Hanuman, I like to maybe just tell a story of maybe the origin of Hanuman.
please, yeah.
Yeah, and this is I'm really just so loving this book, Flow of Grace, by um, Krishna Das, who was a direct disciple of Neem Karoli Baba, who was also Ram Dass's guru, also named Maharaji, who they say, so many that were experienced being with him in person, that he was a human incarnation of this spirit of Hanuman
Wow.
on earth. And they got to be with Hanuman, that spirit. And he was telling a story in that book, um, about Hanuman. So Hanuman is he's a form, an incarnation, say, in this material world. You know, this he is in the stories that he's a monkey, and if we back up, Hanuman is, you know, in the same way that, you know, say with Christ, Jesus Christ is an avatar of God that decided to come to earth during that period of time in order to share teachings of how to awaken. So God comes to earth as a human, a fully awakened soul. But that soul of Christ, you know, is gone through all of the trials and tribulations and everything that we've gone through in order to like wake up. You know, they say Christ didn't come here to show us how great he was. He came here to show us how great we are, and to set an example. And so Hanuman is a similar idea, similar thing that it's put into, you know, these stories. They make them fantastic and amazing and weaved in with so much color and vibrancy and curiosity to make them stand the test of time, so that we keep telling these stories, just like any great writer, great movie or novel. They're written in this beautiful way, so it captures our imagination. So whether he was a monkey or not in the real physical universe, it doesn't really matter. But in this wonderful story, Hanuman is an incarnation of God. God came to earth. And so Krishna Das talks about Hanuman, and they say that Hanuman is an incarnation of Shiva. And the Hindu trinity, you know, the Hindu trinity of creation, there is Brahma, the creator, there is Shiva, the destroyer, and there is Vishnu, the preserver. And this just allows for this life experience to go on forever. Brahma keeps creating with reckless abandon. He's just creating. And Shiva has to keep up. He has to destroy the past. He has to just keep destroying what the past is, so that Brahma can keep creating new. And then Vishnu is the preserver. So he's the one that keeps it going. Oh, there's an imbalance. Something is threatening the universe to like take it out. I have to come to earth and rewrite that balance so that this can continue going on forever. So there is this great yogi named, in the story, his name is Ravana. Ravana is a great yogi. He was a very, very diligent meditator and devotee of Shiva. He's spent all of his time focusing on Shiva and got to this fully, you know, this place where Shiva came to him and granted him boons. And, you know, that's a lot of times in these stories, you know, you get granted a boon when you've done the work. And so he had asked for this boon to be all powerful, and that no humans or God, you know, he left out humans. So he said, I want no gods or demons to be able to destroy me. He left out humans and animals because he didn't even consider them to be a threat. So he became all powerful. And just like in my psychedelic experience that I described, he became all powerful. And he did a lot of, you know, he was doing things to make the world, to fix the world. You know, I'm going to fix the world. I'm going to make it beautiful and make it in my own, you know, my own creation. And so he became a terrible tyrant, and he had so much power that gods and demons couldn't do anything to stop him. And so the gods come to Vishnu and saying, you know, we need to do something about this. So Vishnu says, okay, I'm going to come to earth. You know, this is kind of the beginning of the Ramayana. Vishnu is going to come to earth as King Rama and to destroy Ravana, the evil 10-headed demon that. And so and then Shiva, who is the destroyer, Shiva is the preserver of yogis, and he's in all day, all night meditating on Rama. He's going Rama, 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 Rama. And he pops out of his meditation and he says, the one that I've been meditating on is going to earth, and all the gods are going to join him. Surely I shouldn't miss out on this opportunity. And so he decides, I'm going to come to Earth, and he comes to Earth as Hanuman. He comes to Earth to be the protector and the servant of Ram, of God, that he's been meditating on. And so he comes to Earth as this monkey, and he has all power. He's a son of the wind god Vayu, and so he grows up. He's a monkey. He's got a monkey mind. He's very mischievous, but he has infinite power, and he loves the saints and the yogis, and he follows these rishis into the forest one day as this little monkey, this mischievous monkey, and he's just playing and throwing his powers around. I mean, he has the power to, if he wanted, he could lift up a mountain and throw it across the universe. So he's disturbing these rishis who are performing their sacred ceremonies. And so what they do is they curse Hanuman. They tell Hanuman that, or they curse Hanuman, and so that he forgets his powers. He just becomes a normal mortal monkey. But the catch is that he's totally forgotten his powers, his true potency, unless he's reminded of his powers. And so when he's reminded of his powers, he becomes his full potential. He is God on earth and can do anything. And so that's the big story about Hanuman. And Hanuman is actually also, it's a story that helps us realize that we're like Hanuman, that we have infinite potential and power and ability, but we've just become identified with our little monkey body and our monkey mind. And we think that we're just this monkey until we're reminded through things like psychedelics, we're reminded through meditation practice and our guru, like our inner guru. Eventually we all have an inner guru, whether we know it or not. And when we really start becoming sincere with our practice, that guru shows up. So Hanuman is, my favorite part about it is that we are just like Hanuman, that we have this infinite potential, and we're only limited by our delusion, our forgetting that we are God. And we're reminded of our true potential at the point when we have mastered our senses. In the same way, like, so George Lucas was inspired by the Ramayana. There is the light side and the dark side of the force, just like Ravana, who became drunk on his power and wanting to make everything fit his model of what's the best way to live, the best universe. He became drunk on power, and he's just like the emperor who is tuned into these, the dark side of the force, and that has power. But the villain always gets what's coming. The villain always loses eventually, and the hero always wins, because the hero is following Dharma and is in harmony with nature. And that's what really lasts and brings true happiness. So that's my long first kind of intro to Hanuman.
For the different levels of people who are in our group, there's going to be people who are here just for the art. So going back to the Seekers of Eternal community, there's people that are going to come in here strictly for the art. There's going to be people that are coming in here for maybe the storyline. They'll know, wow, this is going to be artwork that represents Ramayana and Hanuman. There might be people that are coming in strictly just for the community, to be a part of something that seems special. We've had a couple of comments in our Discord that says, I love the fact that this is a mature group with an entrepreneurial mindset. So everyone comes in here looking for something different. So how, when you think about that and you think about the type of project that we're providing, how do we meet everybody's needs? How can we, or is that impossible? And do we just have to allow everyone to interpret their experience themselves and take from it what they will? Or is there something that we want to impart to everybody that joins this community, and we want them to at least take away, X? What is it specifically that we want people to get from our project and this experience?
Yeah, so on a couple of different ways. So what's so beautiful about these ancient mythic stories is that they can be enjoyed on any level that you're interested in experiencing them. So you can experience them purely as this fascinating, beautiful, wonderfully told, epic hero's journey story, with amazing characters of demons and, rescued princesses and armies of monkeys and, a guru bear named Jambavan and, talking vultures and all of this kind of stuff is just, it's so beautiful and wonderful. You can totally enjoy it on that level. You can also see it as a way to, uh, you can use these lessons in business, like how to have a dharmically true business plan for what you're doing, and to actually, be putting out things that are beneficial to the world and that are effective and have magnetism. So it has lessons for every part of our life, and we can explore and talk about them with people on any kind of level, wherever you're at. So it runs the gamut. It could be very much, strategy for a general in the military,
Mm.
or how to properly address conflict, and how does someone who has no interest in violence and harming others, how does one, still go into battle and make sure that they're actually fighting for what's right when it has to happen. There's so many levels for everyone. And it's, there's even, Hanuman is, he's the master of his senses. He teaches us how to overcome lust and desires, and to become, very disciplined. So if you're interested in becoming disciplined with your health or workout and things like that, he's got so many lessons for that. If you're looking to overcome, your lower desires of greed and, sexual addictions and things like that, he's there for you on that level. Hanuman is your best friend, and he is here just like in the way that he comes to serve Ram. Ram is within all of us, so he serves us. So any of your interests and your desires, Hanuman helps you fulfill those. And we're actually here to fulfill our, just like for me, like I like making artwork, and I really like having these wonderful psychedelic experiences that I have with plant medicines and with shaman. And I really enjoy, nature, and I really enjoy traveling and good food and all of this kind of stuff. And he helps you to realize those desires, so that you can be ready once you've experienced all the things, like one day you'd be ready to, like, okay, I really want to go all the way in now, and I want to realize the self. I want to, really make my practice sincere, disciplined, and I want to go all the way to, I want to stop hitting play again on this video game. I want to experience the levels that are omnipresent.
Oh man, if you said a bunch of stuff, well, you always say stuff that I love, but like you just said a couple of things. One is, I think I would probably enjoy thoroughly traveling with you at some point in the future, Chris, because everything that you say that you enjoy about traveling and having new experiences and eating great food, like those are my top. I always say to my, like, I don't buy new clothes. I don't have a ton of fancy gadgets. I'm super easy. But what I never hesitate to spend money on is travel and food. Like I think those are two wonderful experiences, because I think you can, it's the ability, it's the opportunity to meet someone and interact with them and create a memory. And I have a really good friend of mine whose grandmother now he has passed away, but she passed away in her 90s, and she was bedridden, I would say for like the last several years of her life. And so of course, when I would go over to my buddy's house, I'd always go upstairs and see Granny, and she'd be lying in bed, and she would always drop a dime on us. She would say things like, she was like she's from Grenada, but like Trinidad and Tobago. And she would say things in this, like this beautiful Trini accent. She would say things like, don't, she said, boys, you come stand here by my bed. And she says, you never put your hat where your hand can't reach. So so she would say things like that. She would say things like, never let your head rule your heart, and never let your heart rule your head. You find a balance between the two. And I thought that was interesting. And so, but she always had these nuggets for us. And she said to us once, she said, collect memories, boys, travel and collect memories and experiences, because when you're my age and you're in this bed and you can't go anywhere, those memories nourish your soul. They
Mm,
feed you because you could
mm,
barely eat. And she says, so right now, I survive off of all of the memories I created in my life and the experiences
yes.
that I created in my life. And I've always kept that with me. And so I try to make, this conversation something memorable, and my travel something memorable, and the meals that I eat with other people memorable,
Mhm,
because I'm very conscious of the fact that it may very well be the only thing I have left at some point in my life. And I want it to be
mm,
able to nourish me. I don't want any regrets. I don't want any, bad thoughts in my mind, or I wish I did this, or I wish I did that. I just want to be able to nourish my soul when I'm about to meet
mhm.
my maker. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. My wife is also, West Indies. She's from Guyana,
Oh,
um,
wow.
in South America, that's near, near the West Indies. And her dad is Indian. He passed
Interesting.
away back in 2020.
Mm.
So spent, and I've been taking care of him for a bunch of years as well. And so they taught me that about food and about travel and about experiences and things like
Wow.
that. So yeah, I have a similar, I have a
That's really
similar
cool.
connection. Mhm.
Um, the artwork that you're drawing, I know we haven't shared it with the public as yet, but the artwork of the Hanuman project that you're putting together, every time I look at it, blows me away. And you said something just now that makes me extremely excited to be able to have one. And that is this: you said Hanuman can be something so unique to everybody. And he said, if you're looking for the skills and the ability to be disciplined, so you're not prone to the urges that you struggle to go through, to fight off every day, whether it's, I don't know, gambling or sex addiction or drug addiction or drugs, or, any vice. You said that, you may be able to acquire skills and lessons that can get you past that. What a phenomenal,
Mm,
what a phenomenal thing for this NFT to represent. Like, this is my Hanuman. This is who I can turn to. I have it in my phone. I have it on my computer. I have it as my
mhm.
avatar, my PFP, as a constant reminder of the strength that I need to take with me to get through these days. That we all fall prey to devices in our lives, and we all feel like, every night I go to bed, I'm like, I could have done more, I could have accomplished more. And I just, my angel would say, if she made 99 mistakes today, she says, I would always pray to God that I make 98 tomorrow, just one better. And I
Mhm.
think that was just so beautiful. But I just love the fact that these NFTs could represent that for our holders and for our community. It's just to strengthen them at the time where they may need something to get them through the moment.
Yeah, very cool. I'm so glad that thought resurfaced for you, because that's something that's been coming through for me really strongly in just the last couple of nights. Like that this, because I use these images of deities as, we're 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 together on this journey. Like anybody who's like watching this, listening to us, who's joining the community, like we're soul friends. Like we've probably known each other in past lifetimes, and we're all doing this together, and we're helping each other. We're reminding each other of our true potential of, like, don't be
Yeah.
afraid. Like we're here to play and to have fun. Like this is a game. We're what the Divine Mother wants for us is actually for us to be calm, sweet, and happy.
Oh, I love
That's
that.
where we're supposed to be.
Love
You know?
that.
And when you get scared and when things are going rough or whatever, it's like I use these images. Like I focus on Hanuman, and I remember his, like I remind him of his power, and I say, surely you can do everything. Um, if you have unlimited power, Hanuman. Surely you could awaken me from my fears and my self
Oh, I
doubt.
love that. Love that.
Yeah. And so I want to make these images for us, so if you have your image of Hanuman, or your collection of these that have these different qualities. You can use them kind of like tarot cards. When you get one, they'll have all these different aspects that will have different qualities, whether he's holding the mace, or whether he's got this certain mudra, or where he's holding the meditation beads, or he's got the symbols of Saturn, or all of these different
love that.
And
love
it'll be, you can use it. It's like, you can divine by rolling the dice and see which one you get. It's like divining which one is meant for you, and then using that as your power image when you get scared and you're falling, because some days it's much easier to stay on your goals. You're feeling good, you're doing your workouts, you're becoming that person, and then some days something hits you and it's just like, man, I just want to curl up in a ball and drink and forget about it, or whatever.
So true.
Swami Kriyananda, he says there's a term in the French term, I don't know what it is in French, but the meaning of it is nostalgia for the mud. We're these lotuses that grow up out of the mud of all of our past karmas, struggles, and we're blooming and become this beautiful lotus. But when times get rough, we just have this nostalgia just to shrink back into the mud and to go back into what we know and what's comfortable, and rather than striving, So these images, I want them to be like that for us, and this community for us to hold each other accountable and to talk about when you're struggling, and to be able to use these as power images that you can meditate on, and we can, use them together. So this
I love, wow, what a great space to get to in this podcast, Chris, because I feel like that's it. This is the message that we need to be able to share within the community with everyone that's a part of this project. That's the value. That's what makes this a unique project. That's the value of holding the NFT. It's you can use this for so much more than just a picture. You have a story to tell. And I think that's another thing. Like I have a whole portfolio of NFTs. I would feel embarrassed, to be honest with you, about some of the ones that I hold, because for one, I don't know why I hold them. Two, I don't know why they were created. And I feel like this is something I would be so proud of because obviously it's connected to you. I know the amount of time, effort, and energy you've put into each piece, the detail, because I love that. That's probably the most incredible part about art. It's the extension of the actual artists themselves, the quote unquote, the blood, sweat, and tears of the individual, I think, and the passion. And then, but more so than that, the story that's connected to it, and the power that it could bring you if you perceive it to be that. So I think this is a wonderful way to get this message out, Chris. So thank you for touching on that.
Yeah, I'm excited we got there. These things are so so subtle to talk about, and then once you really start to get it, it's like just like those psychedelic experiences. It's an experiential understanding of something that you read about, and then all of a sudden you feel it, like, oh yeah, like I feel that, and you can use it.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been with you now for months and months, and this moment captured it for me. It may take people a bit to get there, as it took me, but once they get there, man, the excitement. Now I want to go back and I want to look at the one that we haven't previewed to everybody as yet, but the detail, the intricacies, and then now the associated traits that come with it, and the characteristics that come with each one. I feel like, man, there's so much to be excited about. So
yeah, that's a perfect point. So I'll just end with this. It's
yes, please.
Hey, so with this project and with this community, it is about this sort of continued energy. So the reason why I wanted to focus on Hanuman, I've always wanted to do a long-term focus on creating Hanuman art, and this is allowing us to do this, is if as part of this community and being able to ask questions and keep, I was like, oh, that sounds really great. I don't feel it yet. But if you continue to put energy into it, you continue to focus on the images of Hanuman, you listen to audiobooks on the stories, you listen to this book by Krishnadas, you get on the Discord and have discussions with other people, even like Saraswati is the goddess of art and learning. And you say, Saraswati, I want to know more. I want to learn. and then she like also is a wonderful connection too. It was like, okay, you want to learn that? Like, I'm going to teach you. You know, you put out that you want to do that. Your imagination creates your reality. So you imagine that you want to have this connection with Hanuman. You want to accomplish your goals and make him your power image and your inner, guide. That will happen if you continue to put in the energy, and you'll learn and you'll know more and more every day.
Love it. Boom. Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much. That was amazing.